year younger and exchanging bright literary letters with her editor at the New Yorker. In passing, he mentions his donations to the Spanish Republic 30 years before. Enough, he thinks, to be suspected of premature anti-fascism. FBI code for dangerous communist. Prematurely anti-fascist, she exclaims, reaching out through time and distance to seize a newfound comrade. It soars above all other mortal distinctions. Or picture a grieving woman, 58 years old and 10 months from her death. Virginia Woolf, putting down in her own defence, thinking is my fighting. One final scene. Consider a woman, 64 years old and 5 years from the end, reeling out of Spain under expulsion, not so fresh from several days in jail, and devastated in more ways than one. Raging, she makes her way to England through a series of scuffles and shouts and confrontations. The French police arrest her, then the English ones do. On the King's Road in London, they pick her up for soliciting, and then add on drunk and disorderly. She scraps. She throws her shoes at the magistrate. She ends up in a mental hospital. From there, she does what she has done countless times before in the service of any number of causes. With aristocratic presumption, she emits a stream of letters to her dearest friends and to eminent people, between whom there is some degree of overlap, protesting her incarceration. It all goes back, she says, to the Spanish Civil War. In some ways, she's right. Her friends are worried, upset, outraged. Some accept that she has lost her mind, others don't. Nancy Cunard, one will write, was not mad, but maddened. I could go on. There is Dorothy Parker, that famous wit, declaring at the end of Spain's war that there is nothing funny in the world anymore. There is Jessica Mitford on the radio in 1977, choosing as the one record that meant the most to her an old German anthem, composed in concentration camps, that her long-dead husband learned in the International Brigades. There is President Roosevelt admitting in 1939, as Europe accelerated into the Second World War, that not offering support to the Spanish Republic had been a grave mistake. Clearly, Spain mattered. But what's unusual about the Spanish Civil War, which ravaged the country between 1936 and 1939 and brought its young democracy to an end, is how much it mattered to people who had nothing to do with Spain. This is not a book about Spaniards. It is not even, really, a book about war. This is a book about individuals, outsiders, and how they understood their role in the history of humanity. It's a book about a cluster of people I was drawn to some time ago now. Individuals, most of them writers, for whom the Spanish War and its challenges never lost their force. The writers produced literature during those years that stayed with me, that stays with me still. Poems, memoirs, stories and essays that warranted attention and opened windows onto the late 1930s that had been left boarded up by the male canon I'd inherited. I had been thinking about activism and retreat, responsibility, freedom and solidarity, and about how one might respond to fearful calamities on the horizon. There they were with their own generation's calamities, their own responses. I might as well admit to a weakness for people with an instinct for rebellion, for women who do not go out of their way to please when more important matters are at stake. Nancy Cunard, Martha Gellhorn, Josephine Herbst, Sylvia Townsend Warner, and Virginia Woolf all resisted in some way the lives they had been offered. The poet, activist, journalist, Nancy Cunard, fought hard to overwrite the heiress muse script drafted by others, emerging unapologetic and determined, heartfelt and erring. Helplessly, I admired Martha Gellhorn's uncompromising, outspoken approach to life and to war reporting, her hard-cased empathy and endless capacity for outrage. I could not resist the radical novelist Josephine Herbst's bad temper, her willingness to scrap, complain and question, to take male grandstanding down with a single swipe at the knees. Sylvia Townsend Warner's self-deprecating drollery, in fiction, journalism and manner, seduced me not least because it came from the pen of a woman so sure, in fact, of her position and its rightness. She knew how her detractors could dismiss her, and she had a disarming ability to take the words right out of their mouths. And who